年来，越南逐渐成为了东盟乃至整个亚洲地区重要的政治和经济体，也成为了多个国家和地区的重要合作伙伴。而香港作为远东乃至国际上重要的金融跟交通枢纽，跟市场潜力巨大、资源丰富的越南，在经济上有很强的互补性。那本期的天下商会将带您走进越南香港商会，一起来听听看越南香港商会这几年作为非牟利的民办团体，是如何在越南跟香港之间搭建起商业机遇的桥梁。
越南香港商会致力于增进越南和香港之间的了解和沟通，不断扩大粤港间的经贸合作与投资发展。
We help Hong Kong businesses mostly to socialize with each other, network, find business opportunities, but also to have a voice with the government. The Vietnamese government has been very open to listening to the input from the Hong Kong Business Association, particularly because Hong Kong has a lot of good experience to offer to a country like Vietnam.
近年来，越南的出口量显著增长，主要是由外商直接投资所推动。
There's some great opportunities for Chinese investors in Vietnam. I think because of various tensions, they've been reluctant in the last 18 months. But frankly, right now, I see them coming back.
越南香港商会成立于1999年，是一个非牟利的民办团体，商会地点设立在越南，旨在为会员提供商贸平台和商机网络，促进贸易合作，加强与越南当地及国际商界间的互动关系。分享交流各项不同行业的市场资讯、经验和心得。商会为香港及其他在越南营商的成员缔造了更为广阔的商业空间。
As the vice chairman of the HKBV, which is abbreviation for Hong Kong Business Association Vietnam.
Right.
So the vice chairman,
Yeah.
do you want to talk a little bit more about your organization,
Sure.
your association?
Yeah, the Hong Kong Business Association of Vietnam comprises Hong Kong companies that have been doing trade and investment in Vietnam for the last 20 years. I've been a member since all that time and vice chairman for much of the time. We help Hong Kong businesses mostly to socialize with each other, network, find business opportunities, but also to have a voice with the government. The Vietnamese government has been very open to listening to the input from the Hong Kong Business Association, particularly because Hong Kong has a lot of good experience to offer to a country like Vietnam.
So this is like a non-profit business organizations, like dedicating to the business interactions between your members and the international communities.
It doesn't get any government funding. The Hong Kong Business Group is completely self-financed from membership dues and from the events that we organize. So that way it can be independent.
This is going to be very interesting because we did a little bit of study on your background. We know that you're specializing in mergers and acquisition, intellectual property, or even corporate law. Based on your background as a vice chairman, how do you utilize your expertise or experiences like contributing to your association?
My main job is as a lawyer for Baker McKenzie in Vietnam. It's one of the leading law firms in Vietnam. This is one of Hong Kong's leading international law firms too. And in that role, I hear a lot of problems that business people have in their day-to-day business. It might be too much regulation, it might be not enough regulation in new areas that they're building businesses in. So we help to identify the issues and propose solutions with the government that work for business.
And we just had a little chat before this interview, and you told me you have been staying in Vietnam for how many years? 25 years?
Yeah, 24 years now, since it first started to open up in the early 90s. My previous experience had been in China since 1981. When I graduated from university at Stanford, I moved to China to teach English and study Chinese, and then came back with Baker McKenzie in Shanghai in the late 1980s. And when I first went to Vietnam, I saw a lot of the same potential that China had. Having seen China go from a very poor country to really start to ramp up and develop and change dramatically, I could see that Vietnam had some of the same potential.
25 years, have you encountered any culture differences or challenges?
Sure, especially having kids, the health, the education, a lot of things are different. There's issues that all foreign businesses face there with regulation, red tape, even corruption that we have to fight every day. But you know, on the other hand, there's a lot of good things about the direction the country's going in, the fact that there's a broad consensus that they want to develop and improve the lives of the people. And for people like me working on international trade agreements and international transactions, Vietnam's really aggressively trying to get into the global economic community and improve the lives of their people by generating exports and trade.
Well, during the last 25 years, we know that you're working various posts, like they're all related to Vietnam. So it's still going to be this question: why Vietnam?
Like I said, I think I saw in the early 90s when I went there, Vietnam was extremely poor, poorer than China in 1981. But you could still see that people were hardworking. They have sort of the Confucian culture, we call chopsticks culture, that they share with Japan, Korea, China. And you could see they wanted to be better. They wanted to get back into the global community and integrate, and they were fairly open-minded about how they could get there. In other words, for people like me, they would bring us in and say, you know, what ideas can you give us about building a stock market or a competition law or a, you know, contract law and all these kind of things that we have experience from other countries.
香港的金融市场业务齐全，资金、证券、外汇、黄金市场、期货市场等种类繁多，交易活跃。世界各地企业被香港的资本市场所吸引，不仅基于香港具备高效率的集资渠道，也在于香港优良的企业管制及具国际标准的规管。
You're expert in the financial industry, we know that, and so you must be knowing a lot of things about this financial sector. So working capital is probably the key word in the operations of, you know, global financial markets. So in a developing country, what are the methods of securing capitals?
Right. In Vietnam, it's fairly easy, especially for Hong Kong companies, because Vietnam, as part of their WTO accession in 2006, opened up their financial services sector. That means that there's Hong Kong banks like HSBC and Standard Chartered Bank who are operating just like local banks. They can take deposits and give loans and do all the financial services that Hong Kong companies need to do business. And that gives Hong Kong companies an advantage over countries where they don't have that backup. They can get loans and mortgage their property to those local banks. The one restriction that's material is that they can't mortgage their property to banks offshore, outside of Vietnam. So we have to create syndicates and consortium to get over that problem.
And do you mind talking a little bit more about your major responsibilities in the Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam?
In the Hong Kong Business Group, I guess I help to provide a lot of the legal input and to channel our members' issues. Sometimes businesses have problems and they don't know how to solve it reasonably. They don't really know what other countries have done to solve the same problem. Whether it's a high tax or paperwork that's overly burdensome for a business to complete, to hire people or to do their business, all those kind of things the government wants to hear from us about. In fact, one of my hats that I wear is on the Prime Minister's Advisory Council for Administrative Procedure Reform, and we've used that role to get good ideas. I mean, Hong Kong is a great example of an administrative apparatus for the government that works well. It's transparent, it's efficient, it's not corrupt, it's just a great example, and Vietnam is actually quite keen on becoming like that. It's not easy to change the system overnight, but this is the direction they want to go in, so they listen to us about that.
Do you give advices to your members, like legal advices or even financial advices?
Sure. I mean, the people in the Hong Kong Business Group share information, knowledge, and experience all the time. We have regular get-togethers, and we'll have seminars for our members so that we can, you know, if there's a new labor law or something that comes up that's of interest to them, they're very, you know, receptive to these kinds of information sharing opportunities.
We have already seen a lot of dominance, like in the Vietnam market, from the Chinese companies. We know that there are already a lot of Chinese companies. They have done their investment in Vietnam. But how about the future? And do you have any advices for those who are interested in looking at investing in Vietnam?
Yeah, I mean, there's some great opportunities for Chinese investors in Vietnam. I think because of, you know, various tensions, they've been reluctant in the last 18 months. But frankly, right now, I see them coming back. So two areas come to mind. One is real estate investment. We've got some very successful Chinese real estate developers who they really know how to do large-scale properties, mixed-use properties in China, and they can do the same thing in Vietnam. Vietnam's open for 100% foreign ownership of real estate developments, and now you can sell the condominiums and the villas and that kind of thing. So it's quite a dynamic market. and open for foreign investment. So with the experience that those Chinese developers have, they can really succeed in Vietnam, and they're welcome. The second area is infrastructure. China, just like in the property development, on roads and bridges and tunnels, has a lot of experienced workers and technicians, engineers for infrastructure, and Vietnam needs that badly. They're going to be spending a lot of money in the next 20 years on infrastructure, so it's an opportunity for Chinese companies, especially when, you know, the Chinese market, the domestic market is, you know, it's slowing down a little bit, and so there's not as much need for building more and more apartment buildings in China, but Vietnam definitely needs it.
I'm sure a lot of Chinese companies are looking at the Vietnam market, but they're also worried about the political situation at the same time as well. Yeah. So at the same time, how to resolve like conflicts and promote harmony between the two countries?
There's still some tension over, you know, the East Sea or the South China Sea. Everybody calls it something different depending on where you sit. But the point is that the more trade and investment the two countries do with each other, the deeper their relationship becomes, and the easier it is to get through the problem. So if people are making money doing business with each other, then, you know, they'll figure out a way to overcome their differences. There's a lot more opportunity for that. China already has a free trade agreement with ASEAN, and Vietnam and China do a lot of business under that free trade agreement, with Vietnam really becoming part of the China supply chain. People manufacture part of the product in China and then part of the sort of labor-intensive part in Vietnam, and then they'll export it from there. So that's the next thing. The next step from that would be the RCEP, the Regional Cooperation for Economic Partnership. That trade agreement would lower duty rates even further and make it even easier for China and Vietnam to cooperate.
开放市场、加强经济合作关系，是各国应对世界经济形势中不利因素、寻求新发展的举措，也是各国发展和巩固国际关系、提升国际影响力的举措。中国和越南两国地理位置邻近，经济互补性强，加强经贸方面合作是两国共同的需要。在今年4月发布的中越联合公报中便提出，中方支持中国企业赴越投资兴业，也愿为越南企业来华开拓市场创造更便利条件。越方将为中国企业在越投资经营提供必要的便利条件。
Your association, this organization, the Hong Kong Business Association Vietnam, is there any China Business Association Vietnam?
Absolutely.
Currently?
There's a mainland China business group too, and there's a lot of overlap with our Hong Kong Business Association. But you know, a lot of the China business group is different because they have a lot of big state-owned Chinese enterprises in the group. The major Chinese banks are there helping the manufacturers. Those would be the main ones.
But the two organizations have different focuses?
Slightly different, just because the membership is involved in different things. I think the Hong Kong Business Group is more focused on the service sectors because of Hong Kong's role as a regional service center. So banking, insurance, legal services, accounting, that tends to be the Hong Kong companies coming over. Also a lot of small suppliers making widgets and other things, you know, Hong Kong, textiles and garments, footwear, this kind of thing, also Hong Kong investment. And real estate. I think Hong Kong's been ahead of the mainland group in terms of property development. But like I say, that could change.
Hong Kong is very strong in that.
Yeah, it's very, I mean, a lot of the best office buildings and residential developments in Vietnam have been invested by Hong Kong investors.
As the vice chairman, what is your target in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think the main target is really to continue working on administrative reform to help make the business environment more easy for foreigners to come set up and do businesses. Vietnam knows very well that it has to compete in a global economy, and that to do that it has to attract investment and it has to provide a competitive platform for that investment. So it's easy to work with the government. They're very receptive to our ideas, so it's a good chance.
It's a good chance, and one thing, we're both very positive. We're looking at a really good future between China, Hong Kong, and Vietnam.
Yes. One of the things I think our Hong Kong Business Association is working on is that it's very particular, but it's very important, is the visa situation. You know, in Singapore, because it's part of ASEAN along with Vietnam, Vietnamese people can go to Singapore without having to get a visa in advance. Whereas if a Vietnamese businessman wants to come to Hong Kong to do arbitration or a roadshow for an IPO or something, he has to get a visa in advance. It might take 10 days, even 2 weeks. So that could be facilitated a lot, where we've been asking the Hong Kong government to consider liberalizing, if not doing away with the visa requirement.
南香港商会不断增进会员之间的伙伴关系，依照法律和商会规定维护香港利益，并为在香港及越南的商业活动提供协助。
We do have a lot of social activities, as well as we do facilitate the relationship between the business community with the government officials, both in Vietnam and Hong Kong.
世界各国进口需求大增，越南的咖啡出口量呈现大幅成长。预计越南有望超越巴西，成为世界第1大咖啡出口国。
Everything is possible, but probably not this year or next year. But I think eventually it will come.
Eventually, it will become the largest coffee exporter in the world.
It could be, depending naturally on the weather, the natural elements. And I think Vietnam is not far. It's not far.
越南是香港在东盟最大的出口市场，在香港10大出口市场中，越南是增长最快的市场。越南具有低成本的土地和人力资源，可为港商提供投资机会。而香港作为平台，可为越南提供基建、专业服务以及商业网络，帮助越南和内地以及全球买家的商贸联系。
Hong Kong Business Association, Vietnam, founded on 23rd July 1999, providing business interactions between members and local international business community. What was the objective of establishing this association in the first place?
Our objective is to increase and facilitate the two-way free-flow investment, and also to provide a platform for the Hong Kong community living in Vietnam and the Vietnamese community doing business in Hong Kong or with Hong Kong, to have a platform to communicate, to be able to voice their opinion, and also to interact and to naturally increase the business investments both ways.
Can you please give us a brief introduction of your composition of your members?
Our members actually have very wide industries. A lot of them are in the garment industry, naturally, garment, textile, and we have real estate developers, we have IT providers. Actually, our members, it's a wide range of businesses.
You have members from different backgrounds, and most of them are like international business operationers. So how do you coordinate and manage them?
We have some subcommittees that actually concentrate a little bit on some of their issues. So we have a garment subcommittee, we have real estate subcommittee, and also we have a lot of bankers, lawyers, so they also have their own issues and interests in the business world.
You were the vice chairman of this organization, and now you're the vice chairperson. What is the biggest achievement so far?
I think our biggest achievement is that we managed to facilitate the Vietnamese community to obtain visas coming to Hong Kong, especially the business community, because it has become quite a big issue for them.
I asked Fred the same question, and I'm going to ask you the same question as well. As the vice chairperson, what is the major goal in the next 3 to 5 years for you?
I think our major goal is to naturally increase more business opportunities for our members, to have more members, and also we would like to achieve that between our two communities we will not need visas to visit each other's country.
Okay, as the vice chairperson of this organization, you're committed to the organization's social and business sector.
Yes.
Can you please elaborate on your major responsibilities?
Responsibilities, I wouldn't say it's big responsibilities. So we do have a lot of social activities, as well as we do facilitate the relationship between the business community with the government officials, both in Vietnam and Hong Kong. So we attend a lot of official functions. We want to facilitate any kind of communication between them.
And you're also responsible for organizing all those functions and events.
Yes.
That's a lot of work to do.
Yes, but it's fun. It's fun.
It's fun. Being a member of the Federation of Hong Kong Business Associations Worldwide in the upcoming 16th Hong Kong Forum, which is going to be held on December 1st to 2nd, end of this year. So what do you expect to achieve in this forum?
We would like to naturally raise the awareness for Vietnam. Vietnam actually is one of the most stable country in the ASEAN countries, politically and economically. So with the AEC, the ASEAN Economic Community already started, we think Vietnam is a very good base to invest in this region.
Does it mean that you will be leading a lot of Vietnam companies coming to Hong Kong to participate in this forum?
We will have some members, yes, coming here, and we hope to increase the numbers in the years.
越南种植咖啡始于19世纪初期的法国殖民时期，当时以欧洲为主要出口地。近年来，越南的咖啡种植发展潜力巨大，竞争力不断提高。越南的咖啡产业不断发展，总产量、出口量和出口金额迅速上升。
The next question would be a very interesting one, and I think it would be a very suitable question for you as well, as we know that Vietnam is the world's second largest coffee exporter. And many experts believe Vietnam has the potential to overtake Brazil to become the first largest coffee exporter in the world due to its favorable climate and lower production cost. You're an expert in the gourmet industry, right? Do you think that's going to be very possible?
Everything is possible, but probably not this year or next year. But I think eventually it will come.
Eventually it will become the largest coffee exporter in the world.
Could be. It could be, depending naturally on the weather, the natural elements. And I think Vietnam is not far. It's not far.
Okay, so do you see this as a really big chance?
I think Vietnam has a
industry?
culture of drinking coffee more than 100 years due to the French connection. They started coffee growth in the 1850s, so everything is possible.
"一直以来，越南积极地参与国际经贸活动，并且呢，享受国际社会给予的各项优惠政策，而越南也被看好成为全球成长最快的经济体。而越南香港商会一直以来不停地促进着越南与香港两地之间的经贸与投资的互动关系，为投资者创建了一个互赢的平台。那么在另外一方面呢，这个商会也在不断地为越南、香港以及国际社会之间加强互动的关系。好，感谢您收看本期的《天下商会》，下期再会。